I made a lot of changes throughout the years of my life, many changes that were necessary for me to continue to grow as a person. Raised in South Philadelphia Project in Wilson Park from 1965 till 1978, my family did their best to keep me from falling prey to the streets. And even though I got involved in some of the things in the street, I didn't get totally sucked into a lifestyle of criminality and just nothingness. They saw to it that I went to school. They saw to it that I had some things that other kids didn't typically have. I was raised by my mother, and at the time, my father, God bless him, he's deceased right now, but he was an alcoholic, and he didn't have really any involvement in my life. And I said really because I made a conscious decision at some point in time that I did not want him to be a part of my life. My mother never stopped that. She always encouraged it, but I decided I didn't want to be involved with my father. So the years went by, and I eventually moved from South Philadelphia and gradually found myself in North Philadelphia. I spent some years living there, and that's really where a lifestyle of criminality took off for me. I started selling more drugs, started working in the club as a DJ, and pretty much by the time 1984 had come around, I was delving into the use of other drugs. But from 1985 pretty much to 1994, I abused cocaine, I abused marijuana, I abused alcohol, I just abused myself. And life didn't get any better until 1994. But from 1984 to 1994, pretty much I was working as a chef. I spent a few more years after that, doing some cooking here and there, but primarily, it was just a matter of needed to do something different. So I had people around me who encouraged me to go to school, get my GED. I eventually went to community college, got an associate's degree in behavioral health, and life pretty much just kept going on from there. Till eventually I got a master's degree in human services, and I currently hold a drug and alcohol certification. But it wasn't easy. It came with a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifices. Spent some years, in and out of different relationships, marriage. And I'm married today. I'm happily married today, I need to say. But I want to stay the course. And SOSPOT is about staying the course. All of us are in a relationship of some capacity. All of us are faced with challenges within those relationships. And all of us can use some support, some guidance, and some direction in how to improve those relationships. I also started a nonprofit organization, Daddy's Right Here Incorporated, which seeks to decrease father absenteeism. So I'm staying the course. The purpose of SOSPOT is to help others stay the course. So listen, tune in, join me, go get your coffee, your bacon, your eggs, your toast, jelly, whatever those things are that you start your morning with, and join me for SOSPOT. I look forward to you being there. I look forward to your comments. I look forward to you just talking about things that are important to you as well. Welcome to SOSPOT. Let's get it. And good morning. Good morning and welcome to SciSpot. I am your host, as always, Sabir Arleen. And welcome to SciSpot. Another great day. And as I often say, and my old friend Donald used to say, another day above ground. And somebody didn't wake up this morning, and may peace and blessings be upon those who did not and their family members. Oftentimes we take advantage of the day by extending ourselves to others, which is the most important aspect of the day. If you're just getting up and you're living a selfish life, a life that's focused just on you and what benefits you, and giving and taking things that only benefit you, then you are in fact living a selfish kind of life. And a lot of people don't see it from that perspective. A lot of people see life to be lived to the fullest for just them, that they just need to benefit from whatever the day brings, forgetting that the day doesn't always bring anything for everybody. It just doesn't happen that way. Some days are not brought to another person. So I'm thankful for the day that I have. I have another opportunity to help another person. I have another opportunity to do the right thing. Because there are things that take place in life that I in fact can change. And when I say change them, I don't mean I can take away what happened. I can't do that. But what I can do is move forward and let somebody know that I have changed, that I have done something different. That I'm not expecting them to do anything different, but I'm putting the expectation on myself to do something different. Today's topic is about love. What is love? What's love? And oftentimes we hear it just thrown around in all kinds of ways. You know, I love this coffee. I love this laptop. I love this camera. I love this music. I love this weather. I love this cat, this dog, this car. I love these shoes. I love my wife. I love my children. What's love? So according to Wikipedia, love defined, love is a variety of different feelings, states, and attitudes that ranges from interpersonal affection, such as I love my mother, to pleasure, I love that meal. It can refer to an emotion of a strong attraction and personal attachment. It can also be a virtue representing human kindness, compassion, and affection. The unselfish, loyal, and benevolent concern for the good of another. It may also describe compassionate and affectionate actions toward other human beings, oneself, or animals. Non-Western traditions have also distinguished variants of semiosis of these states. Words like storge, philia, eros, and agape each describe a unique concept of love. Love has additional religious or spiritual meaning, notably in Abrahamic religions. This diversity of uses and meanings, combined with the complexity of the feelings involved, makes love unusually difficult to consistently define compared to other emotional states. Love, in its various forms, acts as a major facilitator of interpersonal relationships and, owing to its central psychological importance, is one of the most common themes in creative arts. Love may be understood as a function to keep human beings together against menaces and to facilitate the continuation of the species. Love has so many meanings, and oftentimes those meanings are, I would say, misconstrued. So, when I thought about love and I thought about where I wanted to go with this today, it brought to mind some songs, right? Because we often hear about love in many songs, and one of the first songs that popped into my mind was Tina Turner's "What's Love Got to Do with It?" So if I may, and go to the lyrics here, and the lyrics on you can find them on azlyrics.com, right? So here are some of the lyrics. You must understand through the touch of your hand. Let me change that again, because I missed the word. You must understand, though the touch of your hand makes my pulse react, that it's only the thrill of boy meeting girl, opposites attract. It's physical, only logical. You must try to ignore that it means more than that. Oh, what's love got to do with it? Got to do with it. What's love but a second-hand emotion? What's love got to do with it? Got to do with it. Who needs a heart when the heart can be broken? Now I can read on and on, but let's look at the very first group of lyrics. You must understand, though the touch of your hand makes my pulse react, that it's only the thrill of boy meeting girl, opposites attract. Now, if nothing else, we need to understand that, right? The thrill of boy meeting girl, opposites attract, right? Now, whatever your preference is, your preference is. We ain't even gonna get into all of that. I'm talking about the lyrics to the song, okay? So, boy meeting girl, the thrill. And when we look at, in the previous shows, I talked about marriage, and I talked about attraction, I talked about how to keep somebody out of somebody else's bed and all those good, wonderful things, right? So if we look at the thrill of boy meeting girl, we're really looking at what? The chase. We're looking at the act of attracting. What attracts you to somebody else, right? This person didn't just miraculously appear in your house, sitting on your sofa, laying in your bed. There was something that attracted you to that person, right? So it's a thrill. And then when you get to the point of touching, the touch of your hand makes my pulse react. You get those goosebumps, right? Your nipples get hard. And other things start reacting, right? That's that pulse, that throbbing begins. That desire rises, nature rises, and you feel like you just have to have that person. Then it begs the question, what does love have to do with it? Right? Because she says it's physical. It's physical. There's something that happens when I see you. There's something that happens when I hear your voice. There's something that happens when I smell that cologne. Even though I may smell it on somebody else, but when I smell it, it's a reminder of you. Then the next line goes, only logical. What is logic? What is logic? You can define the word logic, but what it means is it's not something that exists within in the brain, because logic is when you look at the brain, right, is what interprets the information. It remains within the mind, because the mind is another aspect of the person that goes on up in here, and we often confuse the brain and the mind. The mind, my mind, is what tells me, is what it gives me the perception
of that person. I want you to really understand this, right? Because somewhere within yourself, right, you have formed an opinion, a view, a perception of what your flavor is, right? Because, you know, you can see somebody, you know, and they can be nice looking, they can be well dressed, they can be well groomed, they can smell good, but it just ain't your flavor. Yeah, well, yeah, she looks nice, he looks nice, but that ain't my flavor, right? But what is it about this person that you're attracted to right now that makes them your flavor? That makes you just want to, all I want to do is put a zoom, zoom, zoom in a boom, boom kind of feeling. You know, I got to have that. What is it about that person? For real. You have to look at those things. You really have to look at that. And later on in the show, we're going to talk about, is it love? Is it infatuation? Is it lust? What is it? Because when Tina Turner asked the question, what's love got to do with it? That has to be answered. And I really don't truly think that we take the time to answer that question. See, when our partner asks us if we love them, or when we tell our partner that we love them, right? What does that mean? What does that mean? Is it something that's reciprocated in action? Is there an action involved? Is it something expressed in words just because it's the right thing to say back? My wife and I had a conversation last week, and you know, she always tells me, and I always tell her, you know, that we love each other. We always say that to one another. And I think one of the things that she said was, "Babe, I just want to tell you, you don't have to tell me it back because I say it." And it's like it's almost a natural thing to do, you know, to say it back. You know, because if you don't say it back, what does that mean when it's not said back? Right? And in my mind, if I say it to you and you don't say it back, what does that mean to me? Well, I guess it all depends on the time of when it's said. Is it said early in relationship? Is it said, you know, later in relationship? Is it said, you know, 3, 4, 5 years later? You know, it has different effects. Because if I say I love you on the first date, what does that mean to you? We're sitting there, we just met, we're sitting there right in the middle of a conversation. And I sit there and I say to you, I love you. What does that mean to you? What actions do you take after it's said? You be like, yo, dude, hey, it's a little too early for that. Listen, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to take my jacket with me because I don't, you know, because you might decide to get up and go, I don't know, but I make sure I take my jacket with me. Oh, and my pocketbook too. And but I'll be right back. Right? It might be one of those moments, right? But can't I just say I love you because of the conversation? This is a great conversation. Can't I just say that I love you because you took the time, you know, to come and dine with me? I mean, because I chased you for a while. You know, I've been at you for a while. It's been like a whole year. I've been trying to, you know, holler at you. What does that really mean? It becomes so confusing. Because the expectation is that you don't say it now, but at some point you do say it. And at what point do you say it? At what point do you say it? At what point is it okay for me to say it to you? If it's an emotion, if I feel it at the time, why can't I say it then? Why can't I say it then? Why is it some particular moment where that you feel comfortable for me to say it? Why? Why is it left solely up to you to make the determination as to when it should be said? How do I know when it should be said? Should I have to wait for you to say it for me to say it back? It's very confusing because nobody really knows when or when not to say it, and then if you are ill prepared for whatever reason. For whatever reason. And the person says it. How do you react to it? Do you turn and run? Do you lower your gaze and like, I don't feel the same way, and how do I tell him? What do you do? See, this whole love thing, right, that we're so caught up in, is poorly defined. And when we don't sit down and have a conversation about what the word means to us, what being in love means, what love means when I say I love you, it becomes even more complicated. And it's like I mentioned in one of the previous shows about how we were talking about cheating, and one of the poor excuses, because there is no excuse, but one of the poor excuses is, well, baby, I'm just screwing her, but I love you. What does that mean? And again, you can say it, I can say it is a poor excuse, because there is no excuse for infidelity. There is no excuse for adultery. There may be reasons, and there's a difference. But if we take that from being an excuse to a reason, right? Now, what reason would I have to go outside of my relationship and, when getting caught, say to my wife, baby, I love you, I'm just having sex with her? But then, in the mind of my wife, for instance, and I'm not talking about mine, so don't get it twisted, for her, giving herself to me sexually is symbolic of her love for me. What message does that send? See, and this is where the lack of clarity often clouds our ability to make rational decisions. Because many times people are loving in order to replace or further suppress a negative, right? When you have something negative, a behavior or an environment, you find ways to replace it, right, with something positive. Because life is about either you love or you hate something. Nothing in between. We either love it or we hate it. Right? So we have to ask that person the question. Explain what you just said to me. Well, see, what happened was, well, why are you asking me these stupid questions? It don't make sense. I love you, and that's all that's important. I made a mistake. That's the explanation. Because there is none, folks. There is none. It really isn't. You can sit down all day long and then listen to a person, right, and find that what they're saying. Listen, there's some slick talkers out there, right? Real slick talkers that can convince you that their actions are justified. But as I was beginning to lead you down this path, the person truly believes that. The person has never been conditioned to understand the significance of love, because they have not had it within their own lives. They've never internalized it. Or what they've done is they've allowed an incident, right, to cloud their thoughts. They've allowed an incident to harden their heart. Therefore, loyalty can't be conceptualized because they've never had it. Therefore, loyalty to that individual means, when I'm with you, I will take care of you. I will be kind to you. I will do all these things. When I'm away from you, I'm going to do me. I'm going to do me. That is the explanation for the bad behavior. But when a person doesn't understand that this behavior has to change, or eventually it will catch up with you and destroy your life. If they don't then understand that, right, they will continue to do those kinds of things. Just like anything else. When they hit their bottom, when they lose the best person that they ever had in their life, then and only then might they see the need to change. But you have to understand one's thinking, which is part of the dating process. It's part of the dating process. But we're afraid to have those kind of conversations in so many ways because the other person is not prepared for that. Because there's an expectation. When we meet, right? When we meet, there are things that go on between us. And this is where we have to understand that we can't be mad when the representative shows up months down the line, years down the line, or after we're married. We can't be mad that the representative has gone and now the real person shows up. We can't be mad when the representative is the one who constantly shows up at the date. We can't be mad about that. Especially if we're not asking questions of the person who we're seeking to be with. And we're only asking questions of the representative. And that's what we do. And sometimes we're foolish enough to become a representative ourselves, as opposed to being who we are with that person, as opposed to having heartfelt, direct conversation with that person. We too present ourselves as a representative. So the dialogue that we're having with the person is in fact appeasing, right, the superficial aspect of love. You can't get true love in the first interaction. Love at first sight is insane. Because when you say love at first sight, that means that that image within your mind, that fantasy within your mind is what you're reacting to. You're not reacting to the person. We all dream. We all have fantasies. We all watch television and we watch these movies and we read these books. And we begin to conceptualize within ourselves what we want. And then when we see something that in some way, in some inkling, some fleeting glimpse displays that, we act on it. And we don't hear, listen, we really don't hear anything else. Because all we're reacting to now is an image that we've had placed in our own mind. So where's the love? Where's the love? There's no love there. It's an idea. And in previous episodes, I talked about the difference between an idea marriage and an ideal marriage. So here we are once again in the same position. This is not an ideal situation. This is an idea situation. So that's what you begin to ride on. You're not riding on ideal love. You're riding on idea love. Therefore, when things don't go your way in this relationship, automatically it falls apart rapidly. It's devastating at a rapid pace because it has not been a dream fulfilled. It's not been a dream fulfilled. So everything that doesn't go in the way that you conceptualize it in your mind, it automatically goes in the other direction. It's either we love or we hate. There's no in between. Right? So now you have taken your life and you've turned your own life upside down because of an idea approach to establish a relationship. It'll never be as your fantasy. as your dream was seen in your mind. This is real life. What you have to understand about a dream is just that. It's a dream. It's a dream. And dreams are often excluding the pain and suffering. Now we have those painful visions, and we call them nightmares. And what happens sometimes is you take a dream, enter it into real life, and turn it into a nightmare. But there's dreams, and then there's nightmares, and there's a reason why they're called nightmares, right? And this one ain't always about you know, being eaten by Godzilla. You know, it's not always that kind of nightmare. Sometimes a nightmare is just he left you. That's a nightmare. And you wake up believing that he's gone. That's a nightmare to you. But to a child, what is a nightmare? Little Bobo, the stuffed panda, jumps off the shelf and starts tearing up the room. That to a child, that's a nightmare. And how is it a child's nightmare is much different? Because again, it goes back to the person only conceptualizes life as they see it. A child can't see a broken heart until they've had the experience of a broken heart. A child can't see love until they have that experience of love. Right? You kind of follow me here? Because what it comes down to is a child conceptualizes life based on the things around it, based on the experiences that it has. As we get older and older and enter into and exit from different relationships, it begins to formulate that idea in our mind of what we want and what we don't want. And then the trauma, the residue of those failed relationships, right, also resides within the confines of our mind, the crevices of our mind. And your heart. And your heart. But it's that which is in your mind that is connected to your heart. So when you think you're in love, when you think there's an attraction, right? When you think it, you make it credible within yourself. Hence the reason why you keep looking at your phone every 30 seconds to see if they called, to see if they sent a text message. Right? You keep checking emails or you keep checking your spam to see if maybe it bounced somewhere else. Right? Those kind of things. Right? And when it doesn't happen, see, your mind is creating the anxiety. Right? Because you want to see that person. You need to see that person. And then when you don't, it begins to weigh in your mind, but your heart feels it. Because you've convinced yourself, right? You've convinced yourself that you and this person are attached. And because you feel like you're attached to that person, right? Attachment is here. If you convince yourself that you love that person, there's no attachment here. If it's just a lustful relationship, right? If it's just infatuation, there's nothing here, which we'll talk about later in the show. Because if you don't feel anything here, regardless of whether it's an idea relationship or an ideal relationship, it really doesn't matter. But if you don't feel anything here, it's just not going to be a lasting relationship. It serves a temporary purpose because you're trying to fulfill something else, which still may be love to you, because that's your understanding. And as we get older, we should become wiser and really, you know, develop an ideal perception of relationships. Because when you get older, you don't have time to keep starting over again and starting over again and starting over again. You know, at some point in life, you should be able to distinguish between whether this is a heartfelt, legitimate, worthwhile relationship that I need to put my life into, or whether I just need to just keep it moving. It all depends on what it is you want to do. You know, if you're still out there, you know, playing the game, you know, playing the field, as we call it, then you're going to keep getting what it is that you get, because you're not really looking for love. You're just looking to satisfy some distorted, selfish need within yourself, an idea. But you're destroying everybody else's life along the way, because you don't want to take responsibility for doing something different. such as putting it out right from the front door. Hey, listen, I'm not interested in a long-term relationship. What I'm most interested in is just having sex, just having fun. Tell that person that. Give the person the option on whether or not they want to be in that relationship with you or not. Oftentimes we take the option away from the person. We take the option away because we don't tell the person right from the front door, listen, I just want to hit it. Say that. But you won't say that. I don't know anybody will say, you know, just like that, I just want to hit it. You know, I don't want nothing to do with you. I just want to hit it. You know, you may hear it in the language that millennial language now is like, yo, let me hit that girl. I just want, oh girl, I can, and I can. You know, you can hear that kind of language, but I don't think anybody's going to go on a date and say, listen, I just want to hit it. I don't want to love you. I don't want to care for you. I don't want to take care of you. I just want to hit it. And for that person may understand that to be love. They may understand it to be love. Right, wrong, or indifferent. One of the things that we often fall prey to is our own thinking. We want to get into a debate with someone about their perception of their lives, of life itself, of their worldview, instead of taking the time to listen, to understand their worldview, to understand their lens of life. Because when you take the time to do that, you're more apt to understand and learn, yo, this is not the dude I want to be with. This is not the woman that I need to, no. Boo, listen, this was nice, I'm gonna go. We keep taking people's options away. And we keep failing to learn about the other person because we're not open to learning. We're not open to listening. We're not open to listening. And so when you start talking about love, that's what you have to have that conversation. You have to have that conversation. How much I spend on a dinner tab should not be a measurement for how much I love you. It should not be a measurement. But it will be a measurement for the person who has that idea love in mind. That's not ideal. Because along the way, when we start having to take responsibility, we want to build together. It's not ideal for me to live beyond my means. That's not ideal at all. Idea is. That's idea. Idea is for me to live above my means. Idea is for me to put myself in a position of suffering because you wanted me to take you out to the finest restaurants. You wanted to stay at the finest hotels when we couldn't afford it. But my love, right? My ideal love for you told me to do it. So again, there's a difference. There's a difference. Anybody, and let me say this, anybody who is living their lives in an idea-based relationship, right, will eventually find themselves, right, in the bed in a fetal position. Guarantee you that. Guarantee you that. Anybody who is attempting to fulfill, right, the needs of a person who has an idea perspective of a relationship will too find themselves in that same position. Guaranteed. It's guaranteed. Right? Love has to be clearly defined by both partners before entering into the realm of sex and or marriage. If you have not had that discussion, if you have not, you're going to find yourself throughout the course of that relationship struggling to try to define it, struggling to try to bring it to fruition in that relationship, and you're going to find it ain't going to happen. And then you're going to wind up just being in that relationship, right, for the duration, unhappy, because it's not going to be fulfilled. That person doesn't have it. They don't have it. So what are you in love with? What's love? So, those were the lyrics to Tina Turner's song. Now let me go to another set of lyrics. And these lyrics, are from the OJs. Let me make love to you. And we know that it begins with just. Let me make love to you, baby. Listen to these lyrics now. I won't hurt. I won't hurt. I'll treat you ever so gentle. I'll make every little thing all right. Honey, you'll never forget this night. Just let me make love to you, baby. I'll be good. I'll be better than better, neater than neater, sweeter than sweeter. I promise I'll do anything you want me to do. Everything a man in love would do. When the morning comes, puts the night on the run. 'Cause we've only begun to laugh, begun to love. Baby, baby, just let me make love to you. And it goes on. So here we're talking about a different kind of love. And actually there's a combination here, right? But we know what we're talking about here. We're talking about sex. Let me make love to you. Now again, here we are. What does that mean? If I have that conversation with you, right? Because one of the things that he interjected here was, I promise I'll do anything you want me to do. And everything a man in love would do. Right? You have to listen to these lyrics here. Because see, again, what does a man in love do? What does he do? And that has to be defined. And that's only defined by who? By me. So what I do as a man in love may not be the same as you desire to have. But looking at this, it's already almost too late, because he's asking. He's got you in his arms. He's caressing your body. Right? Tina Turner's lyrics talked about how though the touch of your hand makes my pulse react. It's a whole lot of pulses reacting. And I'm kissing you and I'm hugging you and I'm making you feel all those things that you want to feel. What is that? Is that love? Is that love that you're feeling? Or is that just that natural reaction of boy meeting girl? The thrill that Tina Turner talked about. Is it just a thrill? Is it logical? Is it physical? That's what Tina said. Tina said that it's physical, it's only physical, and it's only logical. Right? It's natural when boy meets girl. It's natural. So here we are, right? In that position. I'm making these promises. Now here's where the promise. See, here's the promise, right? Because how many times when we trying to get at it, fellas, girl, I'll do anything for you. Just tell me what you need. Just tell me what you want. And it all sounds good, and it all starts like meshing with my idea, her idea. Because if we're at that point of touching, the idea is there. The idea is there. Now, sometimes here's the big difference, and I'm going to say this. Sometimes a woman will be looking at the man from an ideal perspective of love. An ideal, and I told you, an ideal perspective of love has a foundation. And the foundation, right, is based in, we talked about spirituality. And we talked about responsible living, right? And I talked about in one of the other shows about how I said to my ex-wife, that, like the lifestyle I was living at the time you met me, I was a bum. And I wasn't like a bum. I wasn't living on the street and whatnot. But I'm saying I was irresponsible. I was hustling. I was doing the club thing. I was doing a whole lot. I was streetwise. I wasn't responsible, right? And what she said was that, well, I saw the potential. And women often see that. And that's what I mean by how, like, a woman can be looking at a man from an ideal perspective, right? Because that's what women often do, because they see the best in us as men. Even though we're at our worst, they see the best in us. They see the potential. So we're being looked at from an ideal lens. But at that point in my life, I was looking at life through an idea lens. Right? But things begin to change. So when you're in these situations, and you're coming to the point where we getting ready to get it in. Right? An idea perspective, right, says you got to do all these things, right, to make these things happen, because you want to bring it to life. You want to bring that dream, that fantasy, because a lot of times that's what it is too. It's a fantasy, right? So here you have a fantasy-driven person, right, and a reality-based thinking person getting together. But those things, that natural attraction, forces you into that position to make a decision. And you make that decision. And here it comes. Right? And let me read the lyric further down, because here it says, right, look, listen to this. Oh baby, I'm counting on you, darling, to make this wish come true. I tell you, I'm counting on you to make all my dreams and wishes come true. Listen to the lyrics here, folks, and I just got finished telling you. I haven't read the lyrics. I don't even remember the lyrics. I know the song, you know, and to some capacity, but I'm not one of those people who remember all lyrics. But I'm just reading it to you. I'm telling you, I've already said this to you. To make all my dreams and my wishes come true. What are my dreams? What are my wishes? Am I talking about my dreams and wishes for you? Am I talking about that idea that I've been spending my life carrying around, waiting to happen? What am I talking about here? But I'm saying all of these things all the while I have you in my arms. And nature is beginning to take course. Right? And even if you say no, even if you say no at the time, I've established something with you, and I'll be back. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, Terminator, I'll be back. Right? But you haven't heard anything that I said. Because see, the brain doesn't have the capacity, and people have to understand this. The brain doesn't have the capacity to entertain two things at the same time with focus. You can be standing there holding each other, kissing each other. What is your focus? Your focus is on that feeling. Your focus is on the feeling. But if the focus is on the thought, on listening to what the person is saying, you can't focus on the feeling. I want you to try it. I want you to try it. See, when we think we're multitasking, actually what we're doing is we're forcing the brain to take in a number of things at one time. Sure, I can stand here and talk, pick up the cup of coffee, and do this all. But it took an interruption of my focus from the camera to go and pick up this coffee cup. I had to look in that direction, but it took a thought for me to do that. Which means that I was diverted. Even though I continued talking. I'm continuing to have the conversation. I'm continuing to talk about those things, but in the same instance, my mind, right, has gone to the coffee and picked up the coffee cup. Then I have to put the coffee cup back down. Now, I'm focusing on putting it back into the coaster. What I want you to understand is that you can't focus, right, on an idea relationship or ideal relationship, right, at the same time. You can attempt to integrate them both, but you will be confused even in yourself, because when you are trying to have an ideal-based relationship, right, your focus has to be on those principles and those values, right, that you profess to adhere to. An idea, right, based relationship takes you away from the reality of life, because you know it's not real. It's a dream. It's a wish. It's a dream or it's a wish. Right? And you can try to put them both together, but when you do that, it's being destructive. You're being self-destructive. Because your idea says, I want to have a $650,000 house up on a hill, 15 acres of land, right? That's what I want. But that person doesn't have the capacity to give it to you, right? Nor do you have the capacity, first and foremost, to give it to yourself, right? But you push for that person to have it because you look at their earnings, you look at their income, and you say, well, it's a possibility. And if I give it to him good enough, he'll make it happen for me because he loves me. But is that love? Is that love? There's another set of lyrics. Again, so we've talked about the Tina Turner aspect of what's love got to do. We've looked at the OJs. Now here's another one, and this is one of my favorite ones. This is Stevie Wonder. And let me see if you can think of this one. Good morning or evening, friends. Here's your friendly announcer. I have serious news to pass on to everybody. What I'm about to say could mean the world's disaster, could change your joy and laughter to tears and pain. I know I'm not a singer at all, and I'm just kind of blurting it out, but I'm thinking if I get in front of the microphone, I may be able to. But it's that love's in need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Hate's going round, breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before gone too far. And it goes on and on and on, and the last line in this song is very specific, and it says, just give the world love. Now we're talking about love in a different capacity. We're talking about love in a different capacity, right? Now we're talking about a love that can be used to eliminate hate, right? Now, if we take that, just take that perception, right, and look at it from this look at it this way. So if we know that love conquers hate, what happens in a relationship between male and female, or whatever your flavor is, listen, I'm talking about from my experience. When you look at it, right, you have to look at it from this perspective. When you are seeking to be in a relationship with somebody, what are you seeking to do within yourself? What are you seeking to do within yourself? And what I talked about earlier is that when things happen, right, when we have negative behaviors, when we have negative situations, and we're seeking to be positive in positive situations, we have to replace the negative with something positive, right? Oftentimes you'll find that that positive that you're attempting to replace the negative with is another person. But then along the way, you ask yourself, why are we always at odds? If this person replaces the negative in my life, then why are we always at odds? Why am I always questioning why he or she said something? Why am I always questioning why he or she did something? Why is there ever a question? Why is there ever a question? Right? So one of the things I want to go to now is like how people say they love you. Now, I'm on the website wikihow.com. That's WIKIHOW.com. And this page is how to say I love you. And let me read it. Although many people use this powerful phrase loosely, there are times when you want to say I love you in a meaningful way and not sound awkward. Whether you're professing your love to a romantic partner or expressing it to a relative or friend, here are some tips to help you. Right? So number one on this list, and we've pretty much been talking about it, define love. The sincerity of the phrase is strengthened by knowing what love is and what loving someone means to you. Determine the difference between love infatuation, and lust. And make sure it's genuine love that you feel for this person. And we've been talking about that. And I talked about the idea love, the idea relationship, and the ideal love, and the ideal relationship. Right? You have to look at all of this before you cross the line of marriage, of any level of seeking commitment. You have to be able to define this. And as I talked about early on, a lot of times people don't want to have these conversations. You don't want to have these conversations too early. Then sometimes you wait too late to have the conversation, and it's just that, it's too late. Right? The sincerity of the phrase is strengthened by knowing what love is. So why should you not be asking that question in a date? What does love mean to you? What does it mean to you? Because I need to understand that if you're talking about loving me, right? I need to know how you love you. Right? Because the way you love you is indicative of how you're going to love me. If it's that narcissistic love that you have for yourself, I'm going to keep it moving. Right? If it's that traumatized victim position, perception of love, then I'm going to move away from you. Right? I need to understand how you love you. So when you're going to define love, you need to define love of self. And if someone is talking about loving you in a particular manner and they're not giving that same love to themselves, then you need to keep it moving. But most importantly here, you need to understand how that person loves themselves. What do you do for you on a daily basis? What do you do for you? How do you take care of yourself? How do you take care of yourself? How do you deal with stress in your life? Right? You work 40 hours a week. What do you do on those other days? Right? Do you go to the doctor on a regular basis? Do you have those periodic, visits to the doctor like you're supposed to? Right? What do you feed yourself? Not just food. What do you feed yourself mentally? Right? It's a lot of things that you need to learn about that person. When you're home alone, what do you do? What kind of movies do you watch? What kind of music do you listen to? Do you listen to music? That tells you a lot about the person, what they do for themselves and how they feed themselves, because what I feed myself is going to determine how I interact with you. It's going to determine how I interact with you and the rest of the world. Because when you and I are out and about in the public, how I treat you is going to be real important. How I react to others around is real important. Right? Those things are real important. How I talk about other people, especially family members, is real important. Do I co-sign people's stuff? Because if I co-sign the stuff of others, I may very well co-sign yours. If I can't be direct and honest with you about what's affecting our relationship, right? If I'm just allowing you to stay that course when I see that you're going to crash and burn and hurt yourself, first and foremost, how do I deal with those kind of things? How do I love me? Do I get up every day and groom myself, which includes showering, trimming the mustache, shaving, all those kind of things? Those kind of things, those things are important, right? Can I go to the movie by myself? Can I go sit in a restaurant and have lunch by myself? Can I go for a walk in the park by myself? Do I do those kind of things? Or am I going to be heavily reliant upon you to fulfill those things for me? Because it's one thing to get into a relationship with someone, love them, and have a difficult time conceptualizing not being with them. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with like, yo, I need you in my life. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the part beyond that that you have to look at. Because, you know, we live to die. Eventually, I'm going to die. And that can happen at any given moment. I can't tell you when that's going to happen. I don't know when that's going to happen. The reality of it is that you have to understand that. And sure, life is going to be difficult without me. Come on, let's be real. See, we go into that sick thinking. Well, a person say they can't live without you, then they need to get some help. No, you can feel that way. It's a feeling like, damn, something has been taken away from me. That's just not pertaining to a child. If you lose a child or parent, that's anyone who you love. Who you love, right? So you have to determine the difference between love, infatuation, and lust, right? That's number one on the list. Let's go to number two. And again, I'm reading this from the site WikiHow, WikiHow.com. How to say I love you. Number two on that list, feel it. There will come a point when you know what you feel for your boyfriend or girlfriend had moved from friendship to like, through infatuation, and into romantic love. When you're sure you've crossed that threshold, that's the time to express your feelings. If you say it because you think you should, or because it's expected, and you're not there yet, it will come across as insincere. And you have to, I'm not in total agreement with this, but it's on the list. I don't have to be in agreement with everything. It's on the list. So it says here, there will come a point when you know what you feel, right? And you'll know when to move on, whether it's going from friendship to like, through infatuation and into romantic love. But when does that happen? That's the question, and that's where the lines get blurred. Because when you enter into something, if you're feeling somebody, you're feeling somebody, right? You really are, you know. And as consenting adults, you know, listen, what we do with that feeling is entirely up to us, as long as we're both consensual. As long as we're both consensual. I can be feeling you, and we can just go ahead and just drop it like it's hot right then and there on the spot, right?